Good morning, everybody. I'd like to go ahead and get started with the Warren County Board of Supervisors meeting. Today's date is Tuesday, October 17th, 2023. It's 9:30 a.m. and we're in the Warren County Board of Supervisors room. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on our agenda is the consent agenda.
I would move the consent agendas, items A through G as presented to us.
Second.
Roll call.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye.
Heater.
Aye. That is approved. Second item on our agenda today are claims.
I did have a couple of questions on the claims. It was on the latter part of the report. And it had to do with the Indianola municipal utilities bills that were under the last section in the non-departmental. Do we know, why is it under non-departmental, first of all? And then, do we know if there were any administrative fees or any types of late fees associated with those bills?
So I believe non-departmental is for all departments, and IMU is now the phone as well.
Mm-hmm.
So for all departments, I think just that line is what.
So that is the new telephone bill? Okay, okay. Because I saw that we had both the CenturyLink and the IMU bill at the same time.
I believe that should be the last CenturyLink.
Correct.
Okay. That was the main question I had.
Yeah, it kind of relates to a conversation that Kim and I have been having about late fees and how do we set it up? And we're thinking about maybe a resolution at the beginning of next year that allows for the auditor to, pay the bills when they come in.
Okay.
Up to a certain level, under certain circumstances, because we consistently do get some late fees, and could be primarily because of how the schedule works, with the meetings and getting approval. So if we can get the auditor the approval, to go ahead and pay claims to avoid late fees and to get our vendors paid properly, maybe it's something we can do as a Board of Supervisors through resolution to clean this up a little bit. But, that's about as far as the conversation is. We haven't had much time to dive into it, but,
I'll look forward to seeing a recommendation and resolution then related to that.
Okay.
I'll move approval of the claims as presented to us under item number 2.
Second.
Roll call?
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye.
Heater.
Aye. The claims are approved. Next item on the agenda is to consider an easement with Interstate Cable Vision LLC to cross the Great Western Trail. Not sure who's here to speak on this.
I really don't have any questions about it. I
I
think it's
don't
pretty
either.
self-explanatory.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd move approval of the request for I would move approval of the request for an easement to cross the Great Western Trail with a buried fiber line.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, roll call?
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye.
Heater.
Aye. That is approved. Next item on our agenda is to consider an application to use the Justice Center grounds February 3rd, 2024 for George Washington Carver Remembrance and Celebration Day with possible action. Elodie, you want to come on up? Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Well, I'm on a small task force. Well, no, actually, it's a pretty big task force with Simpson to honor George Washington Carver.
Thank you.
February 1st is the date that the state recognizes, but we're moving our community celebration to the 3rd so we can have more families activities and things for children. So I think what's posing an issue with this one is the liability issue. So I just wanted to provide some background. The courthouse history is that it's been a gathering spot for people. Prior to this building, actually the first building here, the courthouse itself, the courtrooms, were the gathering spot for entertainment, spelling bees, handwriting classes, and news of the world. So it's always kind of been a place where people gather. Our previous courthouse, we had the lawn to gather, but we don't have that anymore. But what you do have is a really great foyer, okay? That would be great for certain approved community events. And it would also make you a good neighbor and a good community member. So I realize the liability is an issue, but I'm hoping that you can have some people look into that. And at the same time, we'll look into it as well, although I think it'll be a little harder for us to get another entity to cover your interior space. I think the lawn was probably a little easier than trying to cover inside. So I'm hoping, and also we have no budget. Amy and I are the community organizers for the community component. We're having so many organizations join us on this, and we'll be reaching out to all the county schools and their curriculum directors to hopefully invite more families and more kids to this event. It should be a lot of fun.
I have a question for you. George Washington Carver obviously was a student and
Yes.
he was really more affiliated with Simpson College. Is there a reason why you're not doing this activity on the Simpson College campus? Because it seems to me that would be a more appropriate celebratory place to do things.
It's a really good question, but George Washington Carver was also a member of the community. Everybody knew him. And in fact, after he left here, he was tracked throughout his life through local newspapers. He was actually supported by Sophia Liston of the Liston Bookstore, William and Sophia Liston on the north side of the square. They actually facilitated him getting not only lodging, but extending credit so that he could use the local merchants around the square to get his laundry supplies and also to get his food until he could establish himself. He was known throughout the community and especially the church. I mean, he was an ongoing member of the church. He was also well acquainted with the African American community here, and who might have been, Mahala Battles might have been a person who influenced him also to pursue agriculture rather than art, along with Etta Mae Budd, his art teacher.
Have you had conversations with Jay Beyer and the others at Simpson
Well,
College to host this?
We're on the task force with Simpson College, Amy and I. We're the community component of a very large committee where Simpson will be doing, on the day, February 1st, they will be extending a Carver Medal, which is actually the product of a trifecta of schools, Tuskegee, ISU, and Simpson. It rotates every 3 years. This year it's at Simpson. So there'll be various dignitaries here on February 1st and then February 2nd, Friday, for an Innovations in Food Production Symposium. We're invited to their events, they're invited to our events, and they will be on the square also with some of their displays on Saturday. So this is very much an ongoing, like, 3-day event for George Washington Carver. We just chose to extend our event to a day that really could attract a larger audience. Last year it was on a Wednesday, I think, because that's where it fell. It was mostly blue hairs like me, tired people. And we just want to extend the celebration and the recognition. But he was definitely a member of the community as well as Simpson College because he was a resident. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate
Hold
that.
on, I have a question. So you want to use the inside of the Justice Center for this? Okay.
Only for a film that we have from the National Park Service. And it's a 30-minute film, so we need your setup. That's in my application. You have the big screen TV, you have the chairs. We'd love to do it in a courtroom, but that seemed a little out of line. So the foyer was the recommended spot, and that would be a lovely place to bring in, and we would define the times when the film would happen on our flyer, much like we're doing defining the times for the library to do their storytelling. But there'll be kids making boutonnieres, there'll be kids planting seeds in pots, there'll be storytelling, cocoa. We hope sweet potato muffins using his recipe. So all kinds of events from 10 to 12 on that day, only 2 hours. But we're looking to you for setup and pretty much everything, because we have no budget.
Well, for me, I appreciate you being here, and, you know, I think we need to look into this a little bit further, because really the big hangup is, and the concern for the Board of Supervisors is deviating off a policy.
Yeah.
You know, and you just, with the litigious nature of our, you know, world right now, and just any kind of little accident that might happen, we just feel like insurance is a critical component to any kind of event to make sure that people are covered.
I recognize that, but I also see you all as a member of this community and this neighborhood. So I would challenge you to find ways to work within your community, to be part of that, especially
Well,
for...
there's no question that we do. I mean, we have multiple events at the Justice Center. Some are scheduled in permanently now. And I think of like the Christmas celebration that was a big, huge success last year. And,
Yes.
and community involvement is critical for the supervisors. But I mean, to deviate off a policy that we've all, you know, put in place for, I think, all the right reasons, doesn't mean necessarily that we're not involved or the community's not important, you know, not, please don't think it's not a priority, that we aren't going to get involved. What I'd like to do is reach out to our insurance company
Yes.
and see, you know, learn more about, you know, some patch coverage or how things work or what the costs are, and, you know, potentially find a solution to make everybody happy.
I
You
think
know,
that's- and we will look for anything we can find too, so we can come to, I just want that opportunity. That would be wonderful.
I'll, if it's okay with the Board of Supervisors, I'll kind of work on this and report back at our next work session, and but I'm not one for deviating off a policy in any aspect. You know, like I'd like to figure out a way to do this to keep our policy in place.
Well,
So-
and unfortunately, we've had some security questions that have been brought to our attention since we've done some of these other events.
Yeah.
And as a result, I think we're having to reevaluate how we use the facility, because the building is not the same building that you referenced before. This is not the same
Yes.
courthouse as what has been there before. It is a totally secure facility, or at least it's supposed to be. And so some things have been brought to our attention since we have had some events there that have raised some real issue
Okay.
about security for the building and also for the people who are in it. And even though this would be on a Saturday, we have residents in the building, unfortunately, because of incarceration and otherwise, and emergency services and all kinds of other things. So this is not the same facility that you referenced in the past.
Well, and
It is not the same facility.
I'm not asking for a one-off either. I think it is important to look at your,
Yeah.
Yeah.
keep
So-
in policy. I
Yeah.
respect that, but as you look at it, I'm not looking for a one-off. I guess I would say look at it for how you would go forward as a member of this community.
I think,
That's
Yeah.
the way I would look
Yeah.
at it, not a
Melody,
one-off.
with what has been shared with, at least from my perspective, I can't speak for my colleagues here, from my perspective, with what's been shared with us as concerns, I wouldn't have any concern if it was an exterior-oriented event. But when we open up the foyer area and start to disregard, you know, metal detectors and all this sort of stuff as a prop, that becomes an issue. And that was something that was brought to our attention after we've done some things here. And as much as I'd like to think we were in the same world as we were 50 years ago, we're not. And this building is not the same building that was there 50 years ago.
I appreciate
Yeah,
your
we're
honesty.
getting, just to add on, that's a really good point. We have a meeting today with the Board of Supervisors, with the sheriff, to talk about increasing security. You know, so we're kind of, I mean, there's there's a couple different things that need to be worked out that are contradictory to each other. You know, the community wants to use our facility and our sheriff, and the sheriff's, I mean, he has a completely different goal. I mean, safety and drives everything, and so we're going to be, you know, trying to figure that out and learn more from the sheriff. But I promise you that I'll work on your behalf and try to figure out how to make all this happen and make everybody happy.
Appreciate your time.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is to receive and file reports from general assistants, recorder, and the sheriff's quarterly billing report.
I have a question about these reports. Are we looking at just financial reports?
No.
Was there a policy that was put in place that indicated that these reports would be just financial in their reporting? The reason I say that, the ones that we were receiving here seem to be geared, well, not so much the first one.
Right, general
the
assistance.
General assistance, because there you do have some
Yeah, they
clients
do
served.
have, yeah.
I feel like we're missing some information that should
Yeah.
probably be made public as part of the, I would think as part of this quarterly reporting. So while this is very nice to have all the financial aspects, it doesn't really give us a total picture or a clear picture of what the activity is. So either the recorder or the sheriff, it's very nice to have the financial numbers, but how many arrests, how many whatever are we dealing with that relate to these numbers, so they give them the numbers some meaning. Otherwise, the numbers have no meaning. I don't know how many people we've been housing within the jail there, and I would think that would be part of the report that should really be received. So while the numbers, the financial numbers are great, I think that the report itself is incomplete from my perspective.
Okay. Yeah, we've always talked about having our department heads into our meetings and kind of presenting the report so we can ask, you know, we ask those questions. That's been kind of the driver. But yeah, I totally agree with you that it would be nice to get updated, not only on these reports, but maybe an update from our auditor, or maybe an update from our treasurer, or maybe, you know, from the from all our department heads and elected officials at some point figuring out how to get updated.
So I'm just going to throw one out as an example. I'm not trying to pick on one department versus another necessarily, but this is just an example. When you look at carry permits, okay, it's nice that we've got $3,380 that's been received there for carry permits on the sheriff's report, but how many does that represent? I don't know. Or the DL records, or whatever we're talking about. It'd just be nice to see
It would.
better understand. Otherwise, these numbers have no meaning. They're just numbers.
Yeah. Excellent point.
And the
I
same
totally
thing
agree.
back here on I'm going to look at the recorders. Okay, so we have real estate mortgages for $13,525. Well, how many mortgages does that represent? Is that 10? Is that 100? I don't know. And that also gives us somewhat of a guide of economic activity, just in that particular number. I just throw that out as an example. But I think there's more behind the numbers here than just the financial reporting.
Yeah, I agree.
At the same vein, I'll go ahead and I'll make a motion to receive the reports as provided to us, with the understanding that they should probably have more information associated with them.
Second.
Roll call, please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Snell,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye. It is approved. Thank you for your comments, Mark. Totally agree. Next item on the agenda is the supervisor's report. I'm going to pass on my opportunity to report out today.
We had so much going on the last time, I actually gave most of my report. I will be having several meetings coming up later this week, which will be the normal monthly ones for Impact, HERDA, Aging Resources, and also the MPO.
Excellent. Crystal?
All right, thank you. I met with a citizen about window replacement and a knowledgeable rep to demonstrate viability and life of our current windows. Met with the nutrition director. Had communication with our auditor, special Board of Supervisors meeting, and a Board of Supervisors work session. Attended the Essex Board Regional 1 RIC meeting, and spoke and corresponded with several citizens concerning zoning, roads, noise complaints, ditches, signage, addressing, redistricting, and annexation.
Yeah, it's a lot. Sounds like you've been busy. Okay,
No more than you.
next item, are you finished up?
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Item number 7 is our public input section of our meeting. The board will not take any action on any comments due to the requirements of the open meetings law, but may do so in the future. No public input will be allowed for any of today's agenda items. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address the Board of Supervisors?
Sure would.
Okay, come on up. Please state your name and your address.
Don Van Ryswijk,
Okay.
Indianola, Iowa, Ackworth. 32 years ago, I was sitting where you guys are.
You know the feeling, okay?
And the state of Iowa came to us and said that we had to request a bypass around Indianola. I've addressed every board at some time or another, not every year. It's never happened. 32 years. I sat through stoplights sometimes 3 times to get through. I called your last chairman and he said, well, I got to talk to Indianola. Indianola's not involved in this. It's Warren County, the state of Iowa. And folks, we got to act here. I've been watching this for 20 years. We just react here in this county. I don't see anything moving forward the way it does. If you drive a semi through Indianola, which I've done many, many times, do you know how much it costs to go through Indianola? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, they get 4 miles a gallon. And they don't even do that when you're loaded. And I think if Warren County and the city of Indianola had to pay for the waste and energy, I don't think Indianola would even be here. I think they go broke. But we have to act. They ask us to do that. My other 2 board members are both deceased. They were more interested in what the chamber had to say than what we, the people in the county, need. I would sure like to see this move forward. When I only got 3 minutes. When I got on the board, for 17 years, nothing happened to the bypass. The first action I took when I got on the board was I wrote a letter to the DOT, and we went up there and met and found out that we had a supervisor went up there, and she would not be involved in iced tea. That's the Interstate Act. Every government has to be involved. We told them we'd put $1 million bridge across, I think it was Southwest 9th. And guess what? 2 weeks, they started on it. Nobody knew this happened. But you're worried about an office, more offices in this thing, and you're looking into the future. You don't look into the future in your government. You do what you have to do. And I hate to scold you, but this is really a serious situation. You can't get around Indianola, terrible, especially if you got farm machinery. The other thing that I'm a little upset in, I spent some time in the winter. I'm in a county with 1 million people, and I can go into the treasurer's office and take care of business every day. You know, there was nobody there this morning. You go down here to McDonald's and watch them work, or go to Hy-Vee and watch them work in the bakery. Go any place in this town and watch people work, and then you look at that treasurer's office. I know you can't tell her what to do, but you do control her budget. We do not need somebody to greet us and tell us we can't do something. Thank you for your time.
Totally
Keep up
agree.
the good work.
Thank you very much. Hi, morning. Name and address, please.
Yeah, Don Davis, 14715 Harrison Street, and Indianola. It's been a year since I was in here last time, and lots passed. And I'm going to echo what Mr. Van Ryswick has said, is that there's a nightmare right now that's happened on Hillcrest G36, where we're driving probably 2 to 3 miles out of our way to be able to do business in Iowa and Indianola from where we live. I don't know. I know there were public meetings and things about this construction project, but darn, we need that road open. And he's right, it's costing the truck drivers, it's costing everybody. And I'm paying $3, let's say $3.35 a gallon for gas. They're paying up to $5, $6. And you're wasting that much gas a day. 2 to 3 gallons adds up. So, other than that, good job on the redistricting. And I look forward to being in more meetings in the future.
Good.
Y'all have a great day.
Thank you for your comments. Honestly, and I maybe rely on Crystal a little bit. A bypass or a road around this city, I don't remember having I don't remember that being on our radar screen, or that even being something that, that hasn't even been on our radar screen. So I don't know, I'd be interested in comments about.
This is the first I've heard of it, so.
Yeah.
This is something that has always come from the community, and if it's ever been brought up at a board meeting, it's been quickly pushed under the rug, so.
Well, I'm going to look into seeing what the process looks like.
Okay.
Maybe just getting in a car and going up to the DOT is the thing to do. It sounds like that was successful in the past. So anyway, okay. Our next meeting is Wednesday, November 8th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Roll call?
McIntyre?
Aye.
Snell?
Aye.
Heater?
Aye. This meeting is adjourned. Michaela, 10 o'clock.